Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the dear meetup host today, Isabel Gillet. And as you know, Isabel is going to speak about otherness and giftedness, fostering a broad perspective through symbolic creativity. And symbolic creativity is her approach she's going to share with us today. Isabel is a clinical anthropologist, and she's also a coach. She's of Belgian origin, but she lives in Portugal for maybe for most of the time. I don't know, but he's traveling between. Yeah. She has a private practice since 2015. She's trilingual therapist, trainer, supervisor with focus on cross-cultural intelligence. And today, as I've said, she's going to share with us the symbolic creativity approach. Isabel, maybe, of course, I have not mentioned a lot of other things about you. Maybe you can just add a little bit and start.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Hello, everyone. Hello, ladies. I think it's only ladies for now. I hope you're fine. I don't know what time it is wherever you are, but we are meeting at 3 p.m. CET, and that's a very good day, I think, to chit-chat about symbolic creativity, which is the name I gave to my approach, as Victoria said. Let me just share my screen. It's in here. Tell me if you see it. Of course, we should be on slide 1. Yes, that's the one. I could start by telling you just a little bit more about who I am, so you will understand how I work and why I do the things I do the way I do them, if that makes sense. And then we'll go into showing you a few examples of how to apply this method within your professional occupation, whatever that is. I try to keep it broad as can be. And then we'll do a few exercises, and then we'll chat about what you learned from it. So I wanted this session to be very interactive and not only lecturing you about theories and models. All right. So if I tell you a bit about okay, this needs to move up there. Tell you a bit about symbolic creativity, which is the name I gave to my integrative methodology. It's because I mix in my job narrative therapy. For those of you who have heard about this, it was born in Australia and New Zealand, and now it's making its way to the West as a way to help people heal from trauma and from identity crisis, which are my two main points. I use metaphoric tools, and as an anthropologist, I use cultural artifacts also in my sessions as to trigger people's emotions, rational intuition, and these objects are also the screen upon which they can project their feelings and thoughts. I also use various philosophies or references to popular traditions, old sayings and stuff like that, because there is some wisdom into history and the way people have developed their thinking. And all of that is topped up with neuroscientific tools and things that are very clearly mental health related. So it's not only just fantasies, it's actually data from how our memories are constructed or reconstructed, how our identities shift, how our sense of self builds up with layers of experiences and stuff like that. All right, so slide 3, a little bit about me. You will get the slideshow, so you will be able to read through that. I'm not gonna expand on my pedigree in here. Just the only one thing you need to know is that I started as an anthropologist, specialized in mental health. And then I moved on to communication trainings and then went back to psychotraumatology. And now I mixed all of that stuff into a holistic approach where the human beings and the way they build rapport with one another and the way they also build a relationship within themselves. That's my main area of interest. All right. So if you have any questions, please stop me or write it down, and we'll discuss at the end. I'll reserve some time for exchanging thoughts and feedbacks. So who are my customers? Who comes to consult me at the hemisphere, which is the name I give to my private practice, because it's the common point between our brains and the world. There is the northern and the southern hemispheres, and in the brain we have the left and right hemispheres, and both on each time work together, and we need to make a synthesis of the data we get from them so we have a full picture. So I work with people mainly who present two characteristics combined: cultural diversity and cognitive diversity. So I mainly work with expats and gifted people, and sometimes these are the same. Sometimes it's people who have a very high level career, who speak various languages, who are in leadership leadership roles, excuse me, and they carry with them this multiple identity patchwork thing, as well as a whole range of abilities, whether it be linguistic, social, and of course purely intellectual abilities to grasp and manipulate a whole lot of various data. So usually what we discuss is about, is it different to be strange or foreign? Sometimes you are the foreigner and you have a strange behavior on the eyes of the others, but sometimes inside of yourself you feel a little bit off or strange, and being in a foreign country actually puts you back onto your 2 feet, and you think, oh, now I'm strange for a good reason, it's because I don't belong here, type of thing. We always talk about awareness and giftedness, because everybody can improve their self-awareness. Not everybody is gifted, but that's a common point. This kind of radar that's on 24/7, and this way of looking through things beyond the first appearance is actually something that is common to these two populations. And the complexity, the systemic approach, this way of considering things with many pros and cons, in and outs, causes and consequences, not only in a linear way of thinking. That's also something that is both can be found in both expats and gifted people. This way of opening up the perspectives and seeing things from various viewpoints at the same time. So I'm not talking thinking one way and then pushing oneself to embrace another perspective of someone else the day after. I'm thinking, taking into consideration various viewpoints, various frames of reference simultaneously in one same thinking process. So that's something typical that I've met in both expats and gifted. And then, of course, you have the discomfort, sometimes going to trauma in both, because an expatriation or a migration as a big picture can be either chosen or just pushed upon you. And even when it is actually chosen and planned and carefully, that's a part of a career, you can find yourself a bit odd and not at ease in the new situation. With the gifted people, you also find this, not all the time, but sometimes, those people who have trouble adapting to those various contexts that they go into, because there are too many contexts to take care of at the same time. Some people can just deny the complexity of the world, and some others cannot. They are actually hit by the complexity of the world, and they try to make sense out of it. And my job is sometimes to help them make sense out of the whole bunch of data that they get from the world. I'm putting quote unquote in there. The blurry sense of belonging is something very typical in people going through transitions, whether they are personal, professional, cultural, geopolitical transitions. You actually find yourself into situations that change you. So you have to change to adapt to the situation, but the situation is actually leaving its imprint on you, because, you know, as human beings, we are products of the contexts in which we evolve. So I'm very much interested in knowing and exploring with the people who consult me, what's the part of each person individually, and what's the part of the environment that makes them who they are. And then the typical thing in here, the last point, which is the imposter syndrome, is something that I found in both populations. Thinking that you're not good enough, or considering that you should do more, better, quicker, that drives you going forward, you know, to make progress and advance. It can also give you a sense of not being adequate. So that's typical for people who actually travel all over the world, and they have to reinvent themselves pretty much every time they go somewhere else. And with the gifted people, it's the same kind of thing when they evolve through different social groups, where they try to adjust to the new norms each time. And sometimes when you are extremely successful, you can get the imposter syndrome too, thinking that, did I really merit this? Or is it by luck? Or did I just pull the effort as I should have? But then there's no bragging about it, and I cannot even be proud of myself. I found in those two types of population this issue about being proud of oneself, and it's always been something very delicate. All right. So what I do with them, it's the basis. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to teach you a class on psychotraumatology or cross-cultural communication, but the main point, and I think that's pretty much the common point for all of us working into the intercultural world, is this ability to be something else than what we are, to reach out to the others where they are. So it's like stepping a bit outside of oneself to go meet, in the real sense of meeting someone, to go meet the other person. And to do that, we have to step out of our convictions and deterministic things and all the stuff that we are sure about. And the whole posture is about decentering to be able to look at things from the point of view of this other person. Anyone working in this field has to do that, whether or not you are aware of it. This is what you do every day. So we put a name on it, I'm labeling it. So this is the decentering posture. If you do that correctly, then you can actually meet the other person. If you don't do that correctly, or just don't know exactly where it's going to take you, you can end up, even as a professional, feeling a bit, how am I going to say that? Not too sure anymore about who you are. Okay. This is the kind of experience that we get from other people that actually has an influence on us too. All right, so what I'm talking about is the oops, voila, my PC is acting funny. This is the basis upon which I build my work. There are a few assumptions, there are a few principles, there are a few methods that I climb upon to actually go grab this whole concept of cross-cultural intelligence. My favorite ones, and some of them you know, and I'm sure you practice. I know Victoria is into solution focused, aren't you? Some people are into the systemic approach, the transcultural psychiatry and or mental health support. Some of you might be into neurosciences and cultural neurosciences. All of this can be blended, at least in my work, in a few and blended and summarized in a few assumptions from which I work. There is no we've been talking about this for decades, but there is one common conception about intelligence. It's being adapted to the context. Beings who are adapted to the moving contexts or various contexts they involve in are what we call intelligent. So they can actually manage and live and survive and make their way into life. So to me, cross-cultural intelligence is actually developing such a stretched ability that you could pretty much adapt to any context, or at least a wide variety of contexts. Feeling at home everywhere, being able to build rapport with anyone, not feeling awkward in any corner of the world with any social groups, like being able to blend in. And I'm not talking about assimilation, I'm talking about integration. So it's not giving up who you are, it's actually being flexible enough. And I'm talking emotional flexibility, intellectual flexibility, linguistic flexibility, to be able to start taking the shape of the environment where you are. And then soon enough you belong, or you are recognized by the people as belonging, and so you feel less strange and less foreign, because of course the messages that we send to people through our behaviors are reinforced by what they think of us, and it's not necessarily what we want to project that gets noticed, but we notice what our projection actually creates in other people's eyes, if you're following me. So this is kind of a circular building up type of spiral thing. To me, one of the basics for that is to be able to juggle with opposites. As intercultural beings, I don't know how to call that differently, we're gonna find ourselves in so many various situations, contexts, facing different people with their own personalities and experiences and ways of doing things. And sometimes it looks like a contradiction, a paradox, some things that we cannot reconcile. People have their own values and religious beliefs and all that good stuff. And it can seem so different that diversity becomes an obstacle versus a richness. To me, it's always a richness if we keep this humble outlook, like really wanting to learn. Well, that's of course a characteristic both from the expats and gifted. They want to learn, they want to see new stuff, they want to be exposed to a variety of ways of doing things different than themselves. And to me, the juggling with the opposites, with terms, words, concepts representations is like the yin and the yang type of thing. It's a way to find comfort, or at least the way of surviving, into a world full of differences. If we're not able to reconcile these differences and making the synthesis even within ourselves, we're always gonna have to choose a side, and it's gonna end up into let's fight against each other because we don't understand each other type of thing. And I'm all for thinking differently about that, using the helicopter view, putting oneself on top of things so we see both sides, which is the meta posture of the decentering. And in my previous world or life, where I used to work for the US military, and before that I used to work for the European Commission on mental health programs, we used to call it multiple perspective taking competency. It may have changed names, but I think this is very self-explanatory in that label. The ability to take multiple perspectives towards something at once, so we can be at various, we can see things from various angles at one same time, and not feeling limited with our own preconceptions. I know it's a bit abstract, but you're going to see what I mean in a minute when we do the exercise. So to me, the whole range of things which I noted in there: cognitive flexibility, emotional maturity, behavioral fluidity, sociolinguistic ability, cultural dexterity, and assertive humility, all that are making up what I call the symbolic creativity, which is a way of approaching things and people with an open mind. If I want to simplify it to the bottom, it would be keeping an open mind. But that's always something that we are being told to do. Keep an open mind. Yeah, sure. How do we do that? You know, it's always something we're supposed to do, but nobody explains you how to do that. What teacher ever explained to you how to open your mind? They actually think that from having you do different things, you're gonna end up opening your mind. But I prefer to explain seriously how people can do this with various concrete examples. Oops, my mouse is not responding. Yes, it is. All right, 7. So this is an example of the stuff I work with. Dominoes, statues, musical instruments, therapeutic writing, storytelling dice, projection cards, matryoshkas, anything that can help people project their thoughts, feelings, anything that they can use as communication channels to get into relationship with others, show them how they function, find common ground, and also specific stuff. And I use objects because I use many different things like words and images, but objects are usually very useful because people tend to touch it, manipulate it. They tend to react to the feeling of it, texture, temperature, shape, and all that stuff is beyond the reasoning. It comes even before. It's like impressions and feelings and memories, recollections, even before the reasoning comes in. And then, of course, the reasoning comes in and we discuss the meaning. But then we are sure to address both things, and both brain hemispheres work. This is how I do this. I try to simplify it to the easiest way so everybody could appropriate it, like and apply it to their own life and work. My process is I use the metaphorical object as a trigger. Then and so of course the feelings first come up. And then we discuss the meanings. And so the analytical brain comes in with the explanation. And then we build up the narratives and we look at what life experiences, past memories, cultural traditions, it ties into. So this new idea or concept of feeling, to be retained, it has to just be plugged into something else that we have inside of us from before. And so we try to build the whole narrative about this. And then out of it, I get the pearls of wisdom, meaning having dealt with that particular object in a session and having had the discussion around that topic, around that feeling, around that rationale, around that belief, what do I get out of it? Like, what's the bottom line? What principle? It can be deontology when it's supervision. It can be life assumption when I need to base my choice upon something. What foundational thing do I extract from the whole discussion, which was triggered by the object? And of course, that helps the brain chemistry to go more fluid. And the whole point, when you work with people coming from various cultural backgrounds, or even when you are working with one person embodying various cultural backgrounds in himself or herself all at once, is that those metaphors, those polysemic images, those funny objects, which can mean different things, they can actually build a complex rapport with it, because that story now is multifaceted. It's not just one linear thing. It is something with like branches, like a tree with different things, and they can follow the branches of the imagination where it takes them. It opens up perspectives. It helps you see various choices when you feel stuck. It opens up dilemmas to become orientations in life. And you pretty much open up your world because of the various meanings that are attached to the one same thing. And if you do that, piggybacking on various languages that person speaks, because of course, when you have a multilingual person, he or she plays with these different worlds in one same brain, then you can go pick one word from one language, pick another word from the other language, and start making combinations that are truly innovative. So I'm not saying we're building a new language. I'm saying we are going to exploit resources from various frames of reference at the same time, not only just getting stuff from one pot. And both expats and gifted are people who like to get stuff from various pots, which is the whole point, including when those pots that we get stuff from seem, as I said, contradictory, especially when we talk about emotions, ambivalences, stuff that make you both happy and sad at the same time. Yes, indeed, that exists. Oh, yes. I usually use, because as Victoria said, I love Portugal and I live part of my life in there. There is a specific thing in Portuguese-speaking countries, which is called fado, which is a music style and singing style that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's only in Cabo Verde, in Portugal, Brazil. Fado is the expression of intense emotions, both of sadness and hope, at the same time. Again, not one after the other. Within one same person at the same time, you can be joyful and sad from a loss, for example. You can hope for someone to come back at the same time as knowing perfectly he or she will never come back. And so when we because that comes from when they were, you know, the spouses were waiting for their navigating husbands to come back from the big discoveries and stuff. But when I'm dealing with trauma or death, or just, you know, just letting things go because time has come to move houses and stuff like that. That's a very powerful way of making people understand from inside their body and heart, not only with the rational thinking, that you can have ambivalent emotions about one same thing. You're not crazy. It's normal. It's validated as a human expression of contradictory interest, but yet both are valid. Anyway, we'll discuss that later if you want to ask me questions and stuff. And then I put at the bottom of that slide various examples of stuff I use for that. They all come from various cultures. Kasala comes from Africa. Tree of Life, well, initially from Australia, but it's been now everywhere. The haiku is a Japanese thing, how to summarize your impression about something in 3 sentences in a very structured way. So you are forced, so to speak, to frame your feelings and thoughts and making it fit a specific format. And instead of being binding, it's actually liberating, because you find the exact words, like to the one syllable that you need to say what you wanted to say. And that's actually very, very, it's like freedom within a constraint, if I may say so. Anyway, let's move on. These are examples of the few things that I'm going to have you work on. There's a safe, or it can be a suitcase in here. You have an egg. You have well, it could be a ball, but it's also a rope, and it's actually a knit or a knot. Here you have a sponge, but it's also a heart shape, and maybe there are several ones. This is one star, or maybe several stars, and you have big ones and small ones, and they all shine and they are bright, but they are contained in each other. Here you have keys. You have all kinds of keys and tools, stuff that either come in handy or can actually hammer down a few of your problems. Then you have the mask, which is like the one thing about identity, you know. What is the image that I project of myself outside, but what's inside the mask, you know, my skin, my real skin, which is stuck on the other side of the mask. When I take it off, my social mask, does my real skin come with it? That comes off with it. So sometimes that's a very big question where people say, I've worn that social mask so long that I don't know what I'm gonna find when I take it off. So that's these are various things that I want you to think about. And let's see if this already coming at the next slide. Yes. So I'm not giving you too many triggers first. Ladies, if you could break us, so to speak, into various groups, I would first give you a few keywords, and each group is going to pick, maybe I can assign them in here just like this. I'm going to give you one keyword, one trigger, one object, and you're going to discuss different things about it within a group. First, what this object tells you, and we talk in first impression, feeling, aesthetic description. Then you're going to talk about the meanings. How can I analyze this thing? Because it talks about a topic that's important to me or to my clients. What are the attributes of this thing? What kind of rational linkages can I make? And then the narrative part is, give me for each object an example of either the way you used it or the way that object showed up in your life at one specific moment, or an old saying. Usually there is something to be learned about the popular traditions, how this object used to be used by your grandmother, or when you were a kid and on a scouting trip or whatever. So what is the story behind that object with the meaning it has to you? And then we'll discuss together the pearls of wisdom. So what areas in life, I'm talking on a philosophical high level, can we use this thing for? What can we apply when we have a client in front of us? As what concept can we apply to discuss that topic? What is, I'm trying to make it clear, I hope it is. What is the concrete application of this object when we look at its characteristics? What resonates? Those things give echo to past experiences. And that's the substance I would like to get from your discussion. Was that clear enough? Please let me know. Otherwise, I will try and re-explain. Was that okay?
Yeah, this is okay. Just let me maybe come back on this. And you said, so the first, what it tells you. The second is the meaning or the importance of the object. And the third is narrative or the story behind it. Yeah.
The story behind it, or how did you see it come to life, really? And then the wisdom is that, okay, this symbolic object really has a potential to tell me about something higher that could help me guide my choices in life and everything. It could be also a little reminder. You know, some people, when you are a kid, your grandfather gives you a little stone in your pocket and it says it's a magic stone, and of course you pretend to believe him. Sometimes you do that, and then you keep it, and 40 years later you found that little stone and all the story comes back to it, and you can actually articulate this mini object with a big meaningful experience. This is what I'm trying to find, because cultural artifacts and people, what they bring with them when they move houses, when they move countries, when they went to visit one culture and come back to another one, they bring stuff with them, and in these objects there's actually an emotional load in it also. So that's what we want to try and find. Okay, let me give you a few keywords, and let's say I can attribute it to the groups. How many groups do you think we can make?
Yeah, Isabel, this is the question. So there are two things here. Now we are 9 people, including you. Yeah. So, and the next thing is that we've got a little bit more than 15 minutes.
That's okay. Well, then
yeah. So yeah,
we can do 3 groups of 3. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'll give them about 12 minutes. 3 people, 12 minutes. That would be nice. 12 minutes. 3 people in each group, 3 groups, and I'm gonna give you this. I'll show you, because of course I wrote those things. I'm gonna give you a group that's gonna deal with
chairs.
chairs.
Yeah. So that's for room number 1. Yeah.
Yes.
Room number 1 will be chairs. Yeah.
You're gonna have safe.
Safe is group number 2. Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna have mirror.
Mirror, group number 3. Yeah.
Voila.
So you'll be assigned automatically. Yeah.
That's okay.
And yeah, here we go.
We'll debrief the whole imagination product afterwards.
Yeah, you can join now.
Hello, Maria.
Hello. Hi.
I'm Cindy.
Yeah, Maria, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So we're supposed to talk about a safe? Or
I think so, yeah.
yes.
And yeah, are we supposed to like answer all the questions or just part of it? I think I try to sort of note the questions, like how it is used, and then what's the story behind it.
Yes.
Yeah. And like if we remember an old saying, which I don't, yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
Okay, yeah.
But that's a different kind of
It's
safe.
a different safe. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking more literally. Yeah. But yeah, can't remember anything. Yeah. So what does the safe speak to you? Or do you have any memory or history with the safe?
No. Do you?
No, I don't actually.
We had, when I was a kid, we had one in the house where we kept insurance documents, but it meant, I mean, it meant nothing to me. I never knew the number to it. I don't think it was ever closed or locked because nobody knew the number to it. I have no experience at all, Maria. What do you have?
No, not at all. We'd never, like in my family, we never had a safe. A safe as, we had safe places to lock, or not lock, but hide things. But yeah, sort of, hide things in, different, at the back of a drawer, or we had this huge grandfather's clock, and there would be a little bit of like a key or money hidden like at the bottom of the clock, but no safe in terms, in terms of the thing where that you actually lock, and no. So
Do you have one in your house?
no, I don't. I wouldn't see the necessity for it when.
The only reason I would think of having one is for fire reasons, like documents that I don't want to burn.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only, sometimes I think of getting one just to keep like the deed to my house, stuff like that. But no, this is an object that the only thing that I have with the safe is the feeling of the safe, not the object itself. Feel safe but that I don't know if that's part of our assignment or not.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean so the object doesn't. Do you have anything like similar, or like a sort of like a chest, maybe not a safe, but like what she showed was a sort of like a,
A little,
like a chest that where you could, I don't know. I mean, if I think of chest, I would keep in. I would think of, in Europe. I mean, not even my grandmother's generation has it, but like where you keep all your good sort of linens and all the stuff where you get married, as a young girl. But that's Grimm's fairy tales, it's not even my grandmother's generation.
My family wasn't rich enough to have that kind of stuff. Whatever sheets we had, we used them. I mean, is it part of your culture the people would have them?
I think in the past I mean, I guess you would have them, but I don't, like, my family never had anything like that. But it's sort of, if you listen to the stories and to the legends, then you have it props up. Yeah.
Like for aristocracy or wealthy people or
from, I mean, even not even like not super wealthy, but like regular peasants also. Like if you look at, I'm just trying to think for example, the also the Grimm's fairy tales. There you have some fairy tales where where a girl gets married and then she has this chest with her belongings to take to her husband, and then he's not supposed to look inside.
The dowry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, my background is I grew up in Germany, so that's sort of my background. Yeah. But that's all I can think of. Safe.
It's something that means absolutely nothing to me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, from a personal level, maybe from movies or, you know, something
Yeah.
like that. Okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly. But not personally. Yeah, me neither. I'm just thinking of like safe, making the association to like locks and things, that you have different kinds of locks in different cultures where you live. So I lived in Japan for a couple of years, and at the public bathrooms or in restaurants where you take off your shoes, you have the shoe lockers, and they have sort of wooden plates, and they have carvings in those plates, and all for each. They serve as a key, basically a wooden key. So they would be different for each wooden plate, and they would only fit one of the lockers. So they still build that, they still make that. It's a key, but a different concept of key that we know from Europe.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the West. Yeah.
And I lived for 3 years in India, and so I'm familiar with under the bed there was a big metal chest. Mother would keep things for the dowry one day for the daughters, and that was always locked. But it was a huge metal chest, and she would keep like golden saris or jewelry or
Yeah. But there we go. I mean, that's the closest thing maybe we come to the object that we saw.
yeah, it was but
Yeah.
that's not a part of my growing up. It's a huge part of theirs. I mean,
Yeah.
she was always tucking away things, and she had 3 daughters, so she would always tucking things away for the marriage, for the daughter's marriage. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd love to hear more about that. So,
Really fascinating.
yeah, India is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which part of India?
So the first time I lived there, I was 16. I was an exchange student, and I lived in a town just below Nepal called Lucknow.
Yeah, yeah.
I went back years later, and I taught in the Himalayas, in a school in the Himalayas. What were you doing in Japan?
Yeah, studying and working. So studying, I just wanted to live there, and I sort of just quit university in Germany and enrolled all over in Japan, and working to support myself. So
Wow. Wow. How long were you there?
5 years.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I keep going back. I mean, not recently, but I do have, it depends on, when you go, but that was sort of my formative years as a young adult. So I keep coming back, and it's a big part of my background still. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, for me too, India's the same.
Yeah.
I keep going back and back and back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's amazing that you can just
leave the breakout room if it
yeah,
I found another kind of safe. You were talking about keys.
Yeah.
What if your entire house is a safe, and you have a key that you lock it?
That's that's a good way of thinking. Yeah.
Except I don't lock my house either.
Wow. Okay.
The door is only closed when I leave.
Yeah.
And when I close the door, I leave the key in the door because I don't want to lose the key.
Wow. Okay.
I don't lock my door.
That's okay where you live?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The key is in the car. The key is in the door.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's I'm just trying to figure that in Frankfurt, in a big city, I would be robbed in I don't know, 30 seconds flat. Yeah.
No, it's safe here. Oh, we have to leave each other, Maria.
Okay, nice meeting you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Isabel, we've got about 5 minutes for the debrief.
Good. Everybody's back. So everybody went venturing in the words of polysemic words various meanings at the same time, objects that can trigger emotions, rationals, and sometimes they don't go together and sometimes they do. And I would like a word of feedback from each group with the object that you had and the kind of a brainstorm it helped you have about what can we do with that? How can we use this one word, one object to trigger conversations about what people have hidden inside of them very deep? Group one, who was it? Who was in group one?
It was us, me, Rebecca, and
Annette.
Annette. Sorry, yes.
You had what trigger?
The chair.
The chair. So what did the conversation bring about the chair?
Well, if you don't mind, I would just like say something. So we just really started discussing and reflecting on it. It took us a while to get into this discussion, but it's very interesting because the chair is something that one does not really talk about much, but it's something so basic and so essential in so many ways. And the more we talked about, we ended up right now talking about how there's children games in which chairs are included, and also that there's people taking chairs with them when going camping or whatever. So it's very interesting, but at the same time, we realized that this is part of our cultural view because the chair is not essential in anyone. So it really started, yeah, there's a thinking process going on, I would say.
Well, great. The thing is that, as you said, I'm glad you pointed that out. These are very simple, basic stuff that exists in every culture. If it's not the same armchair as we have or an IKEA chair, anyone around the world has something to sit on. That's a position that talks about status, that talks about leadership or recognition from others, that talks about where am I? Do I belong? Am I in the circle or not? Do I have a higher chair or lower chair? Am I sitting outside or inside the circle? So this very basic one thing, it's about positioning oneself in terms of power, recognition, trying to make the space for me. Where is my personal space versus my professional space? Well, you can go and talking about sense of belonging or not belonging and values and being powerful or not, or being recognized as powerful or not, influential, all from this. And so the whole point about these triggers is that it looks simple and what's going to be an easy conversation, and then soon enough you dive into something extremely deep, but people open up because they didn't feel threatened. There's no resistance to start with. It's a little let's play together type of thing, and then they go in. Otherwise, if you confront the status questions right away, that they're gonna shut up. All right, perfect. What was the second group? Group 2.
That was us, I think, Cindy and myself.
Talking about what?
We talked about the safe or the chest.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't sure whether it was a safe or a chest, and we
the whole point of polysemy is that it can be anything you project in it.
and so we talked about that, that this is something that we didn't really have an association with because none of us had actually such a kind of object. But then we branched out from there and looked at, different places where we had seen or associated such objects with fairy tales, India,
Japan.
yeah.
Exactly. And a safe can be also like, you have travel safes and stuff that you keep your treasures in. Sometimes you lose the key and then you cannot open it, but again, you have to force it open. A safe or a suitcase, because it could be both, It's something you take with you or leave. You decide what kind of luggage you take with you in life or not. And depending on where you go, it can be heavy loaded or less. All these things, you know, when I just pronouncing these words also carry a whole lot of things for people, because you say something, but they hear what they hear, not what you say. And so they associate with different things, and then it starts opening up their mind to different things. And then they're going to associate with ideas that you didn't know at the beginning. But the whole point of submitting a polysemic word or object is that they will pick the meaning that is meaningful to them, and they will start talking their own narratives and appropriating, owning the story. So it's not like you impose something to project upon. You propose something that they can derivate from, and that's where their thinking process takes them. That's so very much important. All right, perfect. So the number 3 was the group I had with Catherine. I don't, are you there, Catherine? Do you mind speaking about our mirror?
Yes, I'm there, of course. I was privileged. The mirror is very powerful. As our discussion showed me within a few minutes how we came to important questions. So first I thought of the mirror as like in the fairy tale, a mirror that is a kind of trap focusing on one's own appearance and beauty, you know, like in the Western fairy tale. And then we came to the idea of a mirror also as reflecting appearance, but also as reflecting light. So in a direction or in another, or how do you say, ébloui, that can kind of
being blinded by too much light. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can be blinded by too much light, or shed light to another place also. And how you can have double-faced mirrors, and how you can have also mirrors you can see through, and the others doesn't see you. And how you can have also mirrors who give another shape to you, you know, thinner or larger.
Yeah, magnifying mirrors who inflate things or diminish things.
So this was a very powerful image, I thought, to think of many other things we're doing spontaneously or intentionally. So thank you very much for that.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, we discussed how to shed light on things and stuff, and we started. Catherine said, well, I don't know, it's not an object that I really like, I don't use it. It was kind of, okay, we're not going to have a conversation about this. And then soon enough, she was diving into it, and then thinking, oh yeah, we have this and that. And it's true that we may not necessarily be very at ease with mirrors and the reflection. And I said, okay, reflection in what sense? Because sometimes it's about reflecting, and sometimes it's about reflecting. So confrontation and reasoning are two different things, but all comes from mirror. And then the image, is it the self-image, the image you project on others, or the image you think you're trying to project, but others see something different from you and stuff? So you can dive into topics such as identity, trauma, moves, transition, positioning oneself, self-leadership, and all these things from these very symbolic, simple. I like symbols because they seem to be one thing, but there are very many different things hiding behind. So it's like a container for sense making. All right, so let me show you, and we'll finish with this. You'll get the slideshow. So tell me if you see this. Let me put it this. I put.
And just before you move there, Isabel, so I would like to say that if anyone needs to leave, because so it's already 5 minutes after the time we planned, so you are of course you can do that. So we've got another about 10 minutes to finalize.
Good enough. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm showing you suggestions. So I have pretty much 25, and that's just the basic stuff I could do between yesterday and today. So it could be like hundreds, okay? Don't get me started. But these are examples of one word, one object, the type of themes you can draw from it, and the conversation can revolve upon this thing, around these things. And then the kind of question or angles to start talking with the person to go get what they mean and help them verbalize their representations, help them making them aware of their own representations, or sometimes misconceptions or preconceptions. And it's a way to start from the unsaid, because an object is mute, but then it triggers talking. It's a way to start from the visible object and discuss the invisible biases or determinism or just cultural food substance that you have in your brain that drives how you behave with others and everything. So I gave you examples in here. The key is about solutions, right? It could be anything else, but anyway. An egg is about emerging, being born or coming up. The mask is about the appearance, self-confidence, and who am I? The chair is about finding your comfort and also affirming your position. The safe is what's precious, and does it belong to you? Are you going to take it, leave it? A plant, a seed, the roots, the fruit is about growth. How do things go bigger and fruitful? The rope, I had one in here. I should have shown you that. I have one big one that I use in sessions. You know, these things like the elastics, and at the end it has a, because people are tied to each other, sometimes in a toxic way, sometimes in just about attachment. And when is it time to pull the strings, and when is it time to open it up? When do we feel tied up to things or just attached to things? And how strong is the rope? And can we cut it or not? Or is it the will of someone else? There are so many different things you can talk about. The bridge is about transitions, of course, and crossroads, and how you're going to pass from one place to the other. Any vehicle, car, truck, plane, of course, for expats, stuff that take you from point A to point B. It's about a journey. It's about, do you have the means to reach your destination? Okay. And the mirror, we talked about this. And you're going to see I have, oops, 2 more slides with different ideas that you will look for yourself. Okay. Plenty of things that you can just go on the street and take a stone from the ground, or just a cardboard box, or get your ring off of your finger and talk about alliances and circles and systemic approach in life. And that's the last one. You have plenty. I'm sure you could find hundreds. All right. So my point was, okay, this is kind of a Mary Poppins type of job, right, that I'm doing. I'm not doing only that, right? This is one of the things I'm using when I try to trigger verbalization from a situation that is hard to express, okay? When people are talkative by nature, we don't need that. I go into different things. But when people have a hard time entering the conversation, this is a way, okay? It can be applied in training, in supportive healing. It can be applied in coaching. It can be, it can go anywhere, okay? The thing is how to put a subject matter on the table so people can actually do something with it. This is my contact info. If you have any question, if you want to get with me, if you want to do a session with me, if you have questions about today and how to deal with something, if you had an idea of, I've been using this, but I would like to try and find another way to make sense out of it. Please, we cannot, let me see, there's a...
We have not seen the slides, Isabel, but I do hope that you will share the slides with us, and we usually send them out after the meeting. So
you have ideas and just suggestions to try and start working in that sense of using symbols as meaning makers, so to speak. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm open to questions if you have any burning topics to address. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we've got only 5 minutes just to remind everyone. And, you know, I'm sitting now, Isabel, and I understand that I am not happy. You know why? That's because you have shared so many interesting and exciting things that you would like to try immediately, and you understand that there is no time to try. Yeah, and I would wish we have another hour at least to yeah. So is it the same? I mean, is it the shared feeling? So that's why, yeah, maybe this is good then. So you stay with this and you think it over after the meeting, and yeah, but that was a great presentation, and there are so many things to think about.
Yes, thank you, Isabel. I do need to go, but I would like to mention to all of you, December 5th, Adam Komisarov is going to give our next presentation. That's on the 5th of December, and he's asking the question, can you be Japanese?
Interesting question. I would love that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, all of you. And I'm sorry, I have to run.
Yeah. So we all have to run, unfortunately. So that I would suggest that if you've got questions or comments or appreciation comments or whatever, you could please contact Isabel directly. Please
reach out to me for any praise or any criticism. I take both because we need to grow, and anything you found very useful or anything you found not clear enough, just let me know. And I hope that this thing was like a little teaser to help you work from symbols into triggering intercultural conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone
for attending, and we hope to see you on the 5th of December, as Cindy said. Have a very nice day. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.